planet internet? I'm Emperor Cole, and this is Emperor Cole Film Review, brought to you by MindbenderENT.com. And today I'm here to review Spider-Man Homecoming. This will be a spoiler review since I'm doing it so late, so anyone who has not seen the movie, you probably want to click on something else and then come back to this one after you've seen the film. Everyone, let's get those web shooters ready. Let's go on this adventure together. Let's do it. Starts out with Peter Parker doing a vlog of himself on his big mission where he gets to join the Avengers, well at least Tony Stark, and he's going to fight in Captain America's Civil War. I thought this was a genius way to open up the movie, and it also does a very good job at capturing the real character of Peter Parker as this young kid who's a young teenager who's now a superhero. He's so excited. It shows that he's giddy. I think they also did a very good job of showing the role that technology would play in the event that heroes were real. Of course, with the YouTube videos, he's doing stuff to get views. He wants to get the likes. He's trying to get he's trying to get Spider-Man's social media profile up. They did an excellent job of capturing that, and I like the way it was. Another thing that I think Marvel and Sony did very well with this film was the portrayal of the character, the Vulture. So not only is he kind of like an everyman's bad guy and villain, but the way that Michael Keaton played the character and the story with the way he gets screwed over the, I believe it's the disaster contract, where he has a contract with the city where he's supposed to clean up after these great disasters happen, and instead the government comes in and it's actually like Tony Stark's company. They're going to do the cleanup because this is all quote-unquote sensitive material that they don't want just anybody handling. So he went all in and spent all kinds of money trying to make sure that his company was ready to take on this job. And then just like that, the rug is pulled from up under him. So we're able to relate to this character and how he decides, well, you know, since the world's changing, it looks like we're going to have to change too. And he decides to collect whatever materials they've already picked up, and he starts to make weapons, and he's selling those weapons on the black market to whoever can pay for them. This type of thing kind of goes on in real life, but I won't get political and go on any of that. But I think that the way they set that up with the story is something I think everyone can relate to. And they show Keaton as a father who actually has a family to provide and take care of. And of course, he's living a decent lifestyle and wants to keep that. So I can relate to how this guy became quote-unquote a bad guy. It was a bad guy who was made out of necessity, not because he was doing it for the thrill or for the fun of it. When him and Peter are getting ready to fight, and he gives him that little speech as he's waiting for the Vulture fly machine thing to kind of like rev up and get ready to go. When he says to him, you know, rich guys don't care about poor people, the people on the bottom. And when he also mentions your boy Tony Stark, how do you think he made his fortune? So I thought they did a very good job at putting that in and presenting that little irony, so that Peter's going so hard trying to stop him, when in fact, Stark's family did make their fortune pretty much the same way. Peter's friend Ned did a very good job at being the comic relief in the film. He was very believable in being the friend who's very inquisitive. He's asking a lot of questions. He wants to know about Spider-Man and him working with the Avengers and what's coming next and what can he do with his powers. But it's a little unrealistic that he was asking them all these crazy questions while they're sitting in class. You're asking this stuff in school as if people don't overhear what we're talking about. And I feel like him being a nerd, of course he's going to be excited about anything that could potentially make him cool. Like knowing Spider-Man and being Spider-Man and all that, okay, cool. But once again, these guys are supposed to be nerds, so you should know that superheroes always have secret identities, and you don't want to reveal your secret identity to anyone in high school because of course it becomes really bad and the bad guys could eventually get to you. So being a nerd, he should know this, right? Yes, no? Of course. And then another thing, just the fact that he was definitely on the borderline of being a little too annoying, being so annoying that at points I was like, oh boy, not this kid again. But I think he did a very good job of redeeming himself in the end when he's the quote-unquote guy in the chair. And there was that hilarious part where the teacher comes in and sees him at the computer and she's like, what are you doing? And he's just like, looking at porn. That was hilarious. The entire theater cracked up when that part came up in the movie. Tony Stark recruited him because he figured out who he was and thought he had good powers and all that good stuff. But then all of a sudden, he's got Happy kind of keeping tabs on him. Happy's ignoring him. And of course, Tony's too busy to kind of pay attention to him. It seemed a little strange because obviously if you think that this new young superhero is good enough to recruit him for Civil War to fight Captain America and the other good guys, why all of a sudden now is he not good enough to mentor and be around him on a more one-on-one basis? Why is he not good enough to at least work with him to bring him along slowly so that he can develop his powers, work with him with the suit, and yada yada yada. So it just seems strange that all of a sudden they're blowing him off and they don't give a F about him. Seeing Peter constantly making phone calls to Happy, he's leaving message after message and not getting any responses. Of course, we see Happy, he's working with the Avengers Tower being moved up to Westchester from New York City. So that's what he's preoccupied with. I thought they did a very good job with the story, with showing that eventually this became the big score that Vulture was after. Of course, now he plans on hijacking this plane, so he'll have all kinds of high-tech devices to take apart and build all kinds of new things. So I think he did a very good job at connecting that. I did not really care for what they did with the Zendaya character. Now, let me clarify this. She was great in what she was doing in her role when she was just the girl Michelle. She kind of had the whole teenage angst thing going on. She drew pictures of people who were in distress. That was very funny. Once again, excellent for the comedic part of the movie, comic relief. She was kind of like this loner girl who's doing the whole thing. She was 100% excellent in that role. But I did not like the fact where all of a sudden they just shoehorned it in at the very end where her friends call her MJ. And it's like, okay, like, you're really going to do that? Now you're trying to make her out to be, quote unquote, the Mary Jane character. There's no romantic chemistry there at all for them to later on develop and have a relationship, or for her to become his primary love interest. So her and Peter kind of run in the same nerd circle. So she's not this hot girl who's out of his league. She's right there with the rest of the nerds and the geeks. So, and it's just like I feel like they're trying to force her to be a character that they shouldn't be. Let her be her own character. Let her be her own thing. When Peter's going to pick her up for homecoming, he's dressed up in his nice suit. He's got the corsage. He's ready, knocks on the door, and the Vulture, Michael Keaton, opens the door. I nearly pissed my pants. The whole entire theater gasped, like, everybody's like, oh no. We thought maybe he figured out who Peter was. He was coming to kill him. He was coming to get him. And then you realize, obviously, he's not in his Vulture suit. He doesn't have the flight jacket on. He doesn't have the helmet, anything. And you realize this is just this guy's house. This is his home. This is his daughter. This is his family that you keep hearing about and never seeing. At least you heard about his wife a bunch of times. You didn't see her. Then all of a sudden you meet the family and you see this is what's going on. So I like the way they portrayed him as a human villain. The tension in the scene is out of this world, because you get Peter, he's standing there trying to keep his cool, but of course his head's spinning as he's putting it all together that this is the guy that he's been fighting and battling with. And then when they get into the car and he figures it out for himself, when the Vulture figures it out, when he's like, oh yeah, you were on the trip when they went to Washington, D.C., you disappeared, Spider-Man showed up, Spider-Man saves the day, and he's like, oh yeah, I like the fact they show he's thankful that he saved his daughter, and that's the reason why he didn't shoot him in the head right then and there when he pulls the gun out after she gets out of the car. But he's having a dad moment where he's appreciative that he saved his daughter. He's telling him, you go in there, you show my daughter a good time, but not too good a time, and you need to stay out of my personal business of what I'm doing when I obviously have to flip the switch and be the Vulture. Once again, where he's sitting there telling Peter, he's telling him, yo, Peter, you're young, you don't know what it's really like out here in the real world. And of course, Peter's like 15, 16 years old. I think he's a sophomore in high school. And of course, Peter doesn't really know what it's like, but Peter's going to force the issue because Peter is the ultimate do-gooder. He can't just let him do this one last job, or he can't just let him do this one big score, because obviously it's going to affect the Avengers, it's going to affect Tony Stark, and he's just the ultimate do-gooder. He's the good guy. He has to stop the bad guy. So even though he doesn't have his suit, the guy now knows who his secret identity is. He still shows up to try to stop him. So that's one thing that's great about Peter Parker. That's them actually capturing the Peter Parker character. But as just an adult myself, you sit and ask yourself, if you were in that backseat of that car with the gun on you and the guy tells you, yo, just stay out of my business, you don't know what it's like, would you have just let him pull off that one last job? I feel like Spider-Man Homecoming is the best Spider-Man movie that has ever been made. It slightly eclipses the second Spider-Man, the one where he went against Doc Ock, that was done by Sam Raimi. So I know some people feel like that's the best Spider-Man movie, but I feel like Spider-Man Homecoming is slightly better than that film, so it is now my all-time favorite Spider-Man film. I'm going to have to give Spider-Man Homecoming a score on the Mindbender Movie Meter. I'm going to have to go with a score of 92%. Spider-Man Homecoming, 92%. That has been Emperor Cole Film Review for Spider-Man Homecoming. If you enjoyed this review, please subscribe to this YouTube channel. Make sure you share this review with everyone you know who is a superhero movie fan, whether it be Marvel or DC. Make sure you check out our Facebook page at facebook.com/Mindbender Entertainment. Of course, make sure you follow us on Twitter at MindbenderENT, and definitely check out the website, mindbenderent.com. As stated before, I did this review significantly later than I normally would have because, of course, we were shooting a movie called A Hell of a New Year. I'll include the link to the trailer below, so you can definitely click on that and check it out. It's also on our Facebook page where you can check out the trailer to Hell of a New Year as well. Make sure you check that out, and remember, the future is now.